which I am one of them. You educate us, you elevate us to do more and be more. And I just want to right now, before we even, is like, thank you. Like, because your presence, what you do, your mission, it helps so many people do more.
Thank you. Thank you. We're so excited, guys. Thank you for all those beautiful words.
And, you know, and diving into that, like,
yeah.
How did all this happen? How did you become one of, I think, only 3 disability chambers of commerce in Texas? One of 4 that exist.
Well, the 4th Disability Chamber of Commerce. Well, actually, so this started 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I served on a board with Evelyn's husband, who kept raving about her. I met her. She was living in San Antonio, and this is really interesting. She was living in San Antonio. We started talking for hours and hours, decided that we both needed to do something. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that was, back then, it was awareness of our children, back then, you know, who have a disability, they have autism, but awareness of the disability community in general. There was in the community, in all of it, exactly. So we wanted to include them in everything that was going on. You know, if there was a race going on that was being put on by the city, we wanted them there too. You know, so we started doing that. We had started with one particular nonprofit, then we joined with another one. We were Aware RGV, then we joined with Capable Kids Foundation. Then I moved to San Antonio, and there we started with the conversation, what are we going to do? We learn, and we know this, our children are children for this amount of time, length of time of life, yet they're adults for a longer period of time. And so we needed to feel, well, we sat down with the other co-founder, the third co-founder, which is Stephanie Wilson, out of Laguna Vista.
She sees this. Hi, Steph.
Hi, Stephanie.
You're missed.
Miss you, Stephanie. We got together. We were actually fishing. Families.
We were just having a good time. So, you know, and just to kind of piggyback on the passion before all this went to the chamber, we were fishing, but we have to just say a lot of people, families who have kids with disabilities, they don't have an opportunity for outings. And there's not a lot of invitations to birthday parties. Having a child with a disability can be very difficult. And so we tend to kind of group with each other. So that day, as she's saying, we had brought a bunch of special needs moms and their kids. Yes. And Stephanie and Esra invited us to go out to Laguna, and we went fishing, right? So we were out on the pier and just watching our kids and all like gel with each other because they get each other, you know, their quirks, what they're all about. No one is being judgmental. Everybody just understands each other. And we're sitting there and thinking, wow, what's going to be of the future for our kids?
What's next?
What's next?
That was the question. What's next? It's fun to have all these events going on, and it's great. We love what's going on right now in the Valley. All these organizations that are just doing so much and huge impact that they have in this community. But we were sitting there and we were thinking, well, what's next? They go to an amazing event on Saturdays, but what do they do on Monday? Where do they go on Monday? And so that's where we decided we need to do something. We thought about maybe opening a coffee shop or a business, but that would only employ 30, 50 people. We wanted to have a bigger impact, and the Valley is huge. And so we decided, and so actually it was Evelyn's idea. And she said, you know what, we need a Disability Chamber of Commerce. So what we do now, and the Disability Chamber of Commerce, RGV, is the 4th one in the nation. Yes. And what
wow.
It's the 4th one in the nation. Yes,
that's huge.
The 4th one. And so what we've decided to do is we have been serving our community, the community with disabilities. We've been serving the actual individual with disabilities. But and again, organizations are doing wonderful jobs in training them and teaching them how to do resumes and how to explore what their God-given potential is. However, nobody's really focusing on the employer. You know, maybe some individuals, some agencies are out there trying to help, but we need to focus on the employers, exactly, who want to understand, or who are out there questioning, how can I hire somebody with a disability? And so that's what we decided to do. Let's focus on the employers so that all these agencies and schools and school districts that are working really hard to train individuals with disabilities, when they either graduate from high school and or a 2-year college or a 4-year college or age out, then you have all these employers that are going to be ready to hire them.
So let's talk about that. Like, Evelyn,
Yes.
how are you gonna get employed? Like, how are you doing that? How are you advocating for small business who have a hard time? Like, I want to be like real.
Yeah.
I want to ask questions like, for me, right? As a business,
Absolutely.
love to be like, I'm going to be one of those people. I'm going to hire a person with disabilities. But when you're struggling as a small business, right? Like, you're struggling already to try to like keep everything afloat. How do you reach us, and like, how do you educate us? Like, how do we get into a system that's like, this is how we do it? Like, how are you doing all that?
So I want to retract a little bit, because we get so passionate and we just want to tell you everything right now. You know, the chamber is going to do amazing things, but it's going to go in phases, right? In our community in the Rio Grande Valley, when we started advocating, we started as mothers, as you know, we're mothers of kids with disabilities. And it became a passion because once our children started to, you know, do well, eventually we wanted to help others, right? In the Rio Grande Valley, this started as a process. It started, as she mentioned, as an awareness, right? So for some years, it was just basic awareness. Then a couple years later, we started to focus on inclusion. So that's when you saw the movement of all these individuals with disabilities at many events, right? And diversity. Now, after inclusion and diversity, we're getting to the point with the Disability Chamber of Commerce where we're thinking now it's about action. It's about executing, and it's about making these individuals productive citizens of their communities. This is a human rights issue. This boils down to everyone needs the same equal rights that you get. And we're living in a time where we're speaking a lot about human rights.
Right.
And I like to say that this is one of the last civil rights movements of our time. Individuals with disabilities have been unfortunately neglected and not given equal opportunities in the workforce, in our communities, in the public spaces, and in reference to transportation, accessibility. Our chamber will focus more than anything on you know, the workforce, but it's going to go in phases. So our end goal is for us to increase the amount of people that you hire at your business that are people of different abilities. That's the end goal. We don't know if that's going to take us 2 years, 10, or 20. But the thing is that we as mothers were sparked by our own children and said, you know, they're growing up. My son is 12. He's the sunshine. He's amazing. He's come a long way on this journey. He's a middle schooler. Esmer's son is 17, and Stephanie's son is 18, right? And so we were like, okay, they're going to want internships, opportunities. How do we get there? Well, one of the ways that we can get there is by going in phases. If we do too much at once, we don't want to fail. We want to execute properly. Businesses, at the end of the day, are businesses, and we want to help them increase their bottom dollar. We want to help them increase their retention of employees. But what we want to tell you is that by hiring a people of different abilities, they're going to get ahead of the curve. Why? Because we're looking into 2025 when there's going to be a shortage of people that have that for entry-level positions. And so what we want to tell you as a business is we get that this is a difficult time because it's a pandemic. We get that this is not probably the time that you're thinking, why would I hire someone that I feel is going to be a burden? Because that's how sometimes it seems. How will I accommodate someone that I don't understand? Well, that's what we want to lift the burden off of you and come in as a chamber, as a liaison, and help your business know that we have experts that can come and give you those trainings. And it'll increase your bottom dollar, your retention rates of employees, your company morale, so many great things. But just like when we started our advocacy in this community years ago with many other wonderful advocates that came before us, there was a process, awareness, inclusion, and then now we're executing, let's get these people work, right? So it's gonna be a process with the chamber as well.
So like what you said, Giselle, that how do you, as a small business, how do you do it? Or why would you even do it to begin with? I mean, there are things that there were federal and state tax incentives for the different types of businesses that are out there. Now, we are not accountants, so there's no way that we can tell you exactly what you can qualify for or not, but there are some programs out there that you can actually if you hire individuals with disabilities that you can qualify for. That is something that a lot of companies need to, well, not need to know, but those are the types of things or education programs that we are going to offer through the Chamber of Commerce. I think that formal partnerships with VR and hiring agencies is what's going to help you as an employer. One, see the value in hiring an individual with disability, hiring qualified individuals
with disabilities.
But also you want to hire them, you want to train them, but you also want to retain them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things that we want to train local employers here in the Valley. I mean, there are so many companies that have been doing it for 20, 30 years already.
So there's no need to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
We want to bring you all work initiatives by qualified people who are already doing it. There's no reason to start all over.
And one of the things that I think that's such a, first of all, that's amazing. And when we first started learning a little bit more about the push and what you guys were bringing to the business community as the Disability Chamber of Commerce for our area, I just think that is such a, it's so needed, because I think, like you mentioned, the main part of that is that you're educating people. And like any other movement, like any other thing that has an impact, it starts with educating and really kind of bringing to light things that we're not accustomed to, that we don't that is not the norm, so to speak, or the day to day. And for a lot of just not just businesses but individuals, people that work in a business setting, like you and Giselle, you say this all the time, you don't know what you don't know, right? And until we figure it out, until we educate ourselves, like we can figure out how to bridge those gaps. And so you guys are literally that bridge for our community and for our business community in general, and the community at large. So that's really cool. And I guess, aside of having the personal connection to the cause, what have you guys experienced in the work environments that you guys have been in, aside that you can kind of make the parallel and kind of see where that's lacking?
So Esmer and I are both business owners. So we own a produce and trucking business, and Esmer has a business with her husband as well. What we see is, even us who are individuals who are, very close to the cause, mm-hmm. we see a fear. We see a fear in employers. We see an excitement, and we also see an urge to want to try it, but they definitely need the tools. I know in our business, it's something that we're working on, doing a custom work initiative program for our business to hire people of all abilities. But one of the biggest fears we hear from employers is liability. So they're nervous that the individual will not be able to execute the job properly. But what we need to remember is that for every dollar that you invest in an accommodation to help this individual, you're going to get a return rate of probably what we're seeing, about $28 is what we're seeing, right?
$28.69, yeah.
So for every dollar. Now, it's also been said by the U.S. Department of Labor that it won't cost you more than $500 per employee who has a disability at max. That's a max. That's like max.
Only if they need an accommodation.
If they need an accommodation,
yeah.
Or accessibility changes or anything in the work environment. But we have been, we're going to be having some great events coming up, and we were looking at different people to come and speak. And one of the individuals we came across was an individual who's hired people with disabilities in his coffee shop. There's a coffee shop, right? Well, yeah, okay. So it's a coffee shop. A coffee spot. And it's interesting. He said that he has not had to give out any paid or sick day leaves to any of his employees, because see, the person with the disability has been waiting light years, ages to be hired. So they super value their job more than anyone else. And it also increases the morale, the climate of the company. And so, as compared to other people who have businesses like mine, I am having an increase in profits, and I am paying less sick days, and I'm having more retention of employees. So because it's not just the feel good thing to do. We want to shy away from this being a charity thing. Right. We don't to hire someone just because it feels good and because, oh, it's the right thing to do. We want you to hire highly qualified individuals with disabilities that have a new skill set that others don't. Some of them use assistive technology, so that just brings a whole other spin to your work environment. And so this is about increasing the productivity of your business. And by hiring individuals of different abilities, you're going to get ahead of the curve. And that's kind of what we want to say. Investing now, especially in pandemic year, why not? Mm-hmm. We're going to be providing free, can we say it again? Free. Training, community trainings awesome. To different counties, districts, and we want to work with city chambers like the Mission Chamber of Commerce. We're so excited to partner up. Provide the free, because the Disability Chamber of Commerce we're in our educational phase. We are not accepting memberships right now. Not right now. But we will eventually. We're an official 501c3. We're a nonprofit. But as a Chamber of Commerce, we will be accepting memberships later to help with the programming we want to execute.
So we're starting with the sensitivity training, and we have actually all of August is already booked, and we're starting to schedule people in October now. And so we are providing, it's just a 2-hour session.
Virtual for now.
Virtual session in sensitivity training. And that will be going on for the next few months. And then what we're trying to accomplish here, besides the training, is to figure out how to cater or how to, cater the different trainings for your specific company.
Right.
I love that. Like when I asked you the question I guess it was 10 minutes ago, the thing that I was like, when I asked you the question, the whole part about training, I think it's so crucial that we can get trained, that we can understand, because I think it's a two-way street. Like, yes, there's a lot of questions that we have also, but also the fact that we need to be trained on how to develop our new employee. Like, how do we, like any other employee, but things are a little bit different, and we can't be ignorant to that. Like, we have to understand that things are different. We will train differently. It will be different, but it will be such an asset to both of us.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. And one of the work initiatives that I saw with SAP like 2 years ago was, what's that?
SAP?
SAP?
¿Qué es eso? I don't know what that is.
It's a company.
It's a technology company.
Oh, okay. I was like,
they hire people with Asperger's and autism. They have a work initiative specifically for people with autism. And what they end up doing is everything from their interview process to the end game is different. So he knows that people with autism tend to have, not everyone, but different, like the eye contact isn't always there. They may get a little nervous. They may be a little introverted or lack some verbal skills. It just depends, because it's a spectrum. But to take away the formality of dressing up and having this like very formal interview, he has a pizza party in his lounge. And he brings in all the potential candidates, and they all hang out and have pizza, and everyone can dress casual. They don't have to be dressed up. So he's taking, everything from step A to Z and bottled it up in a wonderful work initiative that's working really well. And those are the types of individuals that we want to bring down or have featured, because it does take thinking outside of the box. It's not what we're used to. Right. We're so used to doing things in a conventional way. Right. You have an interview, you ask a question.
Until now. Like, right now is the time that every single business and anybody watching, if you haven't learned how to work in this new environment, pivot, do the changes you have to do to stay. Exactly. So this is the perfect time, because we're doing it.
Right. And ironically, you're saying something that's very interesting. A lot of individuals with disabilities prefer to work from home. So this is a great time also to dip into the pool of hiring individuals with disabilities, because they actually, maybe due to transportation, can't get somewhere. Well, right now I can do anything from home. Like, just send it my way. So this is a great time if you're needing someone to dip into that pool. It's an untapped market, to be honest with you. And anyone who is a savvy, innovative business owner is going to consider it. Just because, like I said, you're going to get ahead of the curve on something that no one else has tapped into for years. Right. We celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act last week. and we were reviewing the original speech that President Bush gave when he signed into declaration this new law. And we were just astounded that the issues that were happening 30 years ago are still happening today. It's almost like you could have taken that speech and wrote it and said it today, which means we've made very little progress.
Right.
And it's disheartening. And it's disheartening. And that's why I think, you know, we haven't mentioned this before, but we're very faith-driven women. We believe in God, and we believe that the mission that He's put into our heart at this point in this area in our community is meant for something historical. By becoming a part of what we call a movement, honestly, it's a movement to want to have a more diverse, inclusive workspace with people of all abilities. You're going to be part of history. Like, they're going to write about this in the books, you know, and maybe not the books that later, because we're doing away with books, but they're going to write about this movement, and you're part of it.
Esmer, how likely is it that you could develop this whole like system of virtual assistants?
Of what? Say it again.
Virtual assistants.
Oh, virtual assistants.
Yeah, like the ones with the really awesome skill sets of having conversation or organization or creative skills. Because like in my world, if I could have a virtual assistant who did all of the creative, like here is the article, here are the directions, do all the creative because we've got to do this, we've got to do, you know, or here are all the groups that I'm a part of. Here is the script that I need for you to be looking, you know, to make sure that there's certain individuals that, they fall into a need that I can serve them with, to make sure that they're writing their information down, maybe doing a little like, I just want you to know, you know, like whatever. Because there's all these different tasks that I think would be incredible, because it would be the most amazing like firm of virtual assistants, because they would love working. You said something absolutely true.
Well, every company, regardless of size, whether you have over $1 million in profit or sales a year or below that, you can do it. You need to focus on your policy and leadership. HR practices will have to change a bit. And number one key is education and awareness. Mm-hmm. Education and awareness. Disability diversity training is key. Plus website accessibility. And that's one thing that is huge. We don't have a website right now.
Because we're being very picky.
Because we're being very picky. Yes.
Why? But why? Tell them why.
Why?
Yes, tell us why. Tell us why.
Because accessibility is a big problem with a lot of the websites that you go out there, actually with a high percentage of them. A lot of people who are hard of hearing won't be able to take advantage of a website because of the audio, and they don't have captions. Mm-hmm. Or a person who has legally blind. Yeah. And you know, there's no braille options or anything like that. Those are the types of things that we're having to deal with, that we have to think about before we actually go live with our website.
You're going to educate by leading by example.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. And, you know, speaking of modeling, that's one of the things that we wanted to say, that with the Disability Chamber of Commerce, one of the first things we thought of is, although we have some expertise and some experience with people with disabilities, and through the years, through our personal advocacy, through our advocacy in the nonprofit world, at the end of the day, we do not have a disability. And so it is so different. We want from here on forward that we don't do anything about people with disabilities without people with disabilities. So our board is comprised of some individuals that have disabilities, and our subcommittees as well. We're very blessed to have a wonderful professor who's on our board from UTRGV, Dr. Veronica Yu. She's an amazing individual, and she's been very instrumental. And we have someone out of North Texas, Dylan Rafferty, who's on our board as well. And we're looking to add more individuals who have disabilities on our board, because we want this board to be the board that propels their voice with our assistance.
Yeah.
We can plan all we want, but truly we don't live it. Mm-hmm. We know our family members, our loved ones with the disability, but we don't know everybody out there. Right. We help companies with their, make up measurable goals for accountability outcomes. We can help them with evaluations and adjusting their programs or with the hiring practices and whatnot. But we really can't tell them how well it's working unless we actually take into account what the people with a disability feel or how they're actually experiencing it.
And one perfect example of this that I would love to bring to the chamber is an app that is specific to the needs of these individuals in reference to accessibility. So for example, there was an individual that I was reading on a blog. She has a disability and she likes to travel, right? She likes to go around the world. This is before the pandemic. So she likes to go to Italy, she likes to go to Paris. A lot of times people will give like that little accessibility, accessibility sign that says this is accessible, right? But what's accessible to one person in a wheelchair is not accessible to someone else. Everyone has different skills and everyone has different levels of their mobility. So what she encouraged individuals to do was that she created an app where she went on her own and went to every place, and then she put in, let's say, when you walk into Disney World, right? You walk into Disney World, there's a ramp on the left and outside of Universal Studio. The water fountain is 3 feet high, but it's not blocked.
Wow, so that's amazing.
Wow.
So she made the app so that the person with a disability could make their own decision, not the entity, not the company. So the person, if I have a disability, I'd go in and I'd say, okay, I'm legally blind or I'm hard of hearing. It seems after the research that this individual has done that this would not be a place I would want to visit because it's not accessible enough for me. So the chamber is modeling some of that concept with what we want to do moving forward. We want to provide individuals with disabilities in our community who are adults the opportunity to judge on their own whether something's accessible or not for them. Because at the end of the day, we can say, oh, it's amazing, it's super diverse, it's super accessible, it's super, but we wouldn't know until the person with a disability goes in on their own, right?
That's amazing.
Those are some of the concepts that we're modeling the chamber behind. Nothing about disabilities without people with disabilities.
Precisely.
And that is really cool, and I'm excited that that's kind of the inspiration and the motivation that you guys are modeling out of. And I love what you said. Like, some of this stuff is not, you're not reinventing the wheel. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're taking it and making that wheel, even spin even faster and doing it and bringing it to our area. But just to clarify, and I want to go back to this a little bit. I know you've mentioned a little bit of what you guys are going to be offering to businesses, but like, for instance, if I'm a business owner or business leader or the head of an organization or a company, are you guys at that point, through either their membership or just an organization that chooses to kind of go this route, you guys will the Disability Chamber will walk them through the process, kind of give them an evaluation, or is that something that they would need to look into on another avenue, like to kind of just see, like, we want to be inclusive, we want to expand this, we want to make sure that we have that diversity in our work setting, but how we don't even know if we're handicap accessible, what positions we could allot for that, how to go about it, and make sure that their HR policies are up to par and covered in that aspect. Like, where would a business owner or a business leader even start to start that process?
And that's where we would come in and help them find those resources.
Amazing.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what we will do. We're not the experts. There's no
every single thing, right? Accessibility.
Exactly. And so we have partnerships with the experts. We know the people that we can call to ask to help.
We've been working closely with Texas Workforce Commission Vocational Rehabilitation. Yes. We're going to be working with a lot of other groups. Like, I serve on the Governor's Committee for People with Disabilities, and they're an amazing state agency that really has so much expertise there alone. We have a lot of people that we can reach out to. So when the business, eventually, when we get out of the educational phase for the chamber, it's probably this year and next is what we're thinking, there are going to be membership opportunities. You'll be able to come in as a large employer, as a small employer, as a nonprofit organization, a community member / or student. So there'll be, we haven't touched upon this, and we want to support entrepreneurs who are people with disabilities. And so some things for these individuals as well. But there'll be different membership levels at feasible prices. And our hope is when you come in, we're going to be providing a slew of trainings and workshops and networking events that all obviously cater to some of the things you just mentioned, CJ. But if a member reaches out to us and needs something more custom, because they're saying, like you said, I actually hired someone the other day. I got excited after the training we went to, or the website, or the webinar, or whatever, and they're here, they're so pleasant, they're amazing, but I'm having this problem because, and then it's challenge, it's not a problem, it's a challenge,
right.
and I don't know how to go about it. That's where we come in to support as a chamber, say, we can send you this resource, this consultant, this, and so that it's going to be customized to their needs, you know. We're hoping to do like the basic 101 through our 2 years for all businesses that have become members. And then eventually, if something needs to be more customized to that business, then we will move forward in that manner.
Right. TWCVR provides a lot of services, a lot of resources. They have a lot of resources and services that they can provide employers who are interested in hiring or have already hired. And they, through TWCVR, they will learn about a lot of the incentives that exist here in the state when you hire an individual with disabilities.
So I have a question. Where do you guys, you know, as business leaders yourselves and business owners and also parents that you know, kind of that live that life with the children, what's the driving force aside of the obvious that kind of like leads to the advocacy and then the education components of things? Like, I know that it hits close to home, but it does for a lot of people, and they're not going to the scale that you guys are. How do you balance that, and how do you manage and run a business and start a nonprofit and then go home and be the mothers caring to your children? Like, where does it all tie together? Kind of, I guess, a little bit of insight on how you all have, you know, managed to stay leaders in the community and still, you know, kept up with your advocacy work.
Well, CJ, I have a very supportive husband.
We both do. And
We
that
both do.
starts
We
there.
both
We gotta
starts
give
there.
them
Both our
thanks.
husbands support us in all of our endeavors. They've supported us.
I think sometimes they want to just grab us and say stop because we go so.
Yes, they do. But they also see how much it means to us to help.
Exactly.
We are women of faith. A lot to us.
And so is our other co-founder, Stephanie.
And so is Stephanie.
It leads us a lot.
Yes, exactly. And that is really what drives us, our faith. Our families have always, and my husband, my sons, even my mom, my sisters, they've always helped us.
Exactly.
Every time we had events, they would volunteer, and they're waiting for us to ask them, hey, I need volunteers, where do we go? They're always willing to help and lend and it's not easy. There's a lot of sacrifice. We've sacrificed a lot of hours. We've stayed up late a lot.
Planning events, tons of times.
But to see how the community in the Rio Grande Valley has changed from 5 years ago to now, to see that to see it now, that
to see the progress,
to see the progress, to see that individuals with disabilities are being considered now. It's all worth it.
It's worth it.
It is all worth it.
And that's so accurate. Esmer and I, like she mentioned, we started together when we met with Aware GB, and she went really fast at the beginning of the story, but she forgot to leave out that she called me so much. Oh, hours. If you only hours go fast, she called me like 1,000 times, and she spoke to me for 3 hours each time and asking me all kinds of questions. At the time, I had relocated to San Antonio to help my son with autism because at the time I didn't think there was enough resources in the Valley. And we would talk and just feed off of each other. And she kept saying, when you come back, we need to do something. I'm like, yeah. But when you come back, we need to do something. That's okay. But it was a wonderful friendship.
On something when she's like, this is happening, it's happening, get out of the way.
It's happening. Literally, it was happening. And I didn't know where I was. All of a sudden, I was just like there.
Effective leadership trait. That's why you guys are the masterminds today.
That was the mastermind. it was a passion, and Esmer's just said it. It was our family. You know, just the other day, I made a video that I sent out to one of our board members. She's also a professor at the university, Dr. Stewart. By the way, I just want to give our board a big shout out. Our board is amazing. We have got John Garza, we got Fanny Hernandez, we have Dr. Veronica Yu, Dr. Stewart, Dylan Rafferty, and that's it, right? Anyways, I give a shout out. They're amazing. They're great.
And our advisors.
And our advisors. But
yeah.
I sent a video to Dr. Stewart. She wanted to send a video to her grad students who are speech language pathologists, potential future speech language pathologists, about the journey of a mother with autism or family dynamics. And I was going to do it myself, but I decided to add my child in it, my son with autism. And I decided to ask him his perspective on having autism and what it's been like, and my daughter, because she's a sibling of a, you know, and like Esmer said, our family sacrificed so much. So when you start a nonprofit for whatever passion, cause you have, I mean, just remember, it's going to be a sacrifice because they all give so much. So my daughter is now wanting to one day advocate, you know, for her brother. But I love that she said in the video, maybe I'll put it on social media one day. She said, well, I hope to help him in the future, but I'm not going to helicopter him because he really needs to know how to do things on his own. And so I think it's really cool because siblings play a big part in this as well. Husbands, mothers, everyone, sisters, they're all part of the sacrifice and the passion that drives us to do what we do.
And a little personal note, in 2019 was a little hard for us. My husband, we were in MD Anderson for a long time. But one of the things that kept, and I had told Evelyn, because we were living in San Antonio at the time, I said, I'm done, I'm tired. My husband was going through, you know, his treatment. And I had told her, I'm done. I even told Giselle that, I'm done. I'm done, I'm tired. You know, I need to focus just on my family, my husband. She calls me one day, and I'm just sitting there feeling sorry for myself. She just said, hey, we're not done yet.
I said, we're not done.
We're not done yet. And it just like, oh, shut up, Ellen. You know, it's like, oh, be quiet, please. But you know, even when things are so hard, it really does. My faith means a lot to me, and I know it all comes. That faith and that strength comes from God, because I'm back. We moved back. My husband retired. He's doing great. Praise God. And so, no, we weren't done. We weren't done. And so, this is just another. I guess it's not another.
It's another chapter towards
chapter.
The final mission of making these individuals' voices heard and making sure they have an opportunity to be a part of what you are a part of, what you are a part of, what we all are a part of every day. And sometimes it's going to take a little bit of sacrifice from some individuals, but we knew that if this was the route we needed to do, you know, by doing a Disability Chamber of Commerce, we thought this would have the highest level of impact. And so that's why we went this route. Is it the most easiest route? No.
Really not. But nothing worth it is ever easy.
Right.
But we hope that it continues.
Yeah, with or without us. With or without us.
There's so many lessons in what you just said in that last, you know, declaration. There's so many lessons for all of us, with or without disabilities. It's about perseverance. It's about being true to a purpose that is a calling from God. Like, when you feel it in your chest and you feel it aching, it's not yours to make a decision if you want to do it or you don't. You don't have a choice. You have to do it. You have a calling. And you do. What you guys have done together, I have never in my life seen before.
Right. Yeah.
What you guys do when you're together is something that's just super extraordinary. But your why is so profound.
Yeah.
And it's your children.
And
your why is to make sure they have a voice, and your why is make sure they have the life of their dreams. Why can't they dream and make that happen? And I've gotten to witness it in bits and pieces in the last few years, and it's to me been the biggest blessing. So thank you for sharing with me in the past few years. But more than anything, thank you for doing what you're doing. Truly, thank you for sacrificing so much so that we can be better people.
I want to continue on that, because I think when and in that light, and again, it's bigger than, and you guys are leading it, but it's bigger than all of us. You know what I mean? And that's the cool thing about it, is that your outlook on it is not, although you're self-inspired and you have the background for it, it's not about you. You know what I mean? And it's not even just about your children that are inspiring you. It's about a movement. It's about, you mentioned it earlier. This is this is going to be history. This is going to be part of something bigger than all of us. And I think now more so than ever, you know, and not to go too deep into that, but we all know that, you know, the times we're living in, everybody's feeling all sorts of different emotions, all sorts of different things, having all sorts of types of realizations to things that are now inspiring them, or kind of just getting a different sense of things. And when you hear about real struggles that people deal with, and Esmeralda, you know, you were mentioning you were calling it, you were saying you're done, you were going to focus on other things, and I think, you know, people are dealing with that right now. It's just been so heavy, and you hear constantly, like, everybody's got something that it just seems we're all dealing with, right? And to hear you mention that, I think is so important. Mention your story, and mention like the perseverance and the push, whether it was through your faith and holding on to your family, is so important these days, because we need to hear other leaders, we need to hear other individuals that are persevering and pushing forward and still making an impact. And I think that's a really important message. And I'm inspired. I've been inspired every time that we talk. I think I don't want to sound cheesy or corny about it, because it's absolutely genuine, but the passion that you guys have, and the things that you guys are doing I just don't think we can highlight it enough. And I think that, you know, I know that when you spoke to Brenda and I about teaming up and chambers and working together, Giselle is on our board as well, so I know she would agree with this. Like, whatever we could do, it's so cool that you guys are a chamber, and with all chambers, it's not, you know, it's not a competition. It's not a thing where, you know, oh, let's do this or that. I mean, let's team up. Let's let's help each other up, and let's advocate for each other's causes. All of our, at the end of the day, a chamber of commerce, you know, advocates for our businesses, and you guys are just giving them another form of advocacy, giving them other tools and resources. And we need to make that happen. And it's really
exactly
cool.
And we would love that. We have connected with a lot of the city chambers already. We're so happy. We're looking forward to connecting with more in Cameron and Star. We want to just remind everyone, this is a regional chamber. And so it's, we didn't mention, but there's one in Houston, there's one in Austin, that's the U.S. Disability Chamber of Commerce, and one in Florida. So the RGB is one of the only ones in this South area. And so we're excited to be a part of this history, and just remind individuals, you know, we are here to support other chambers and work with you all together to do something maybe that, you know, we don't want to repeat, you know, certain things that you all are doing. If you're already doing something, we want to do something totally different. That way we can bring more added value to your business members as well.
Amazing.
You touched on it about teamwork, and I think something that we've really worked hard on is to surround ourselves with people on the same mission, who are positive. They're real. They'll let us know when we're going too fast, when we're going the wrong way.
We tend to go a little fast.
But that's a good thing, because they don't say yes all the time. They don't always say no to us, but we work together for the same mission. And that has made a big difference in where we're at right now. That we have people who just work very well together. We do have our ups and downs, just like anybody else does. But at the end of the day, we come together and try to make the best decisions for everyone.
Exactly.
And that, and anything that we can do to work for the community, we do. And it's not a me thing at all. It's not a who's in front of the camera or who is getting all of the attention. It has nothing to do with it, because ultimately we serve a people, and that's what we want to keep doing.
Exactly.
Well, before we close, because we're already getting to that time, how can people get involved? How can people get involved, and where do they start?
So for right now, as she mentioned, we don't have a website, as we're being very careful how we put that out eventually. So the two social media avenues that we are on is Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, we're at DCC RGB, and on Facebook, we do have a page called Disability Chamber of Commerce RGB. We do have a email. You can contact us, info@dccrgv.org. And do we still have the number?
No.
No, we're okay. So those are the 3 major areas. She's more the administrative person, so I've got to ask certain questions to her sometimes. But so right now we have those 3 avenues. We are not accepting memberships, but what can you do is send us a private message on social media and say, I'm interested in my business taking a corporate training for free. We are doing a couple. We'll book you, we'll add you on the list, and we'll start a conversation with Zoom and go from there. So that's kind of the way we can start right now, is providing you all some free basic 101s that'll make you feel a little comfortable moving forward. And then the more you know, the more you'll get intrigued, and hopefully once we open up memberships, you'll become members.
Yeah, and the more that we can share, the more we know, the more we can share.
Exactly.
So I guess I thank you for sharing that. I want to ask one more final question to kind of what, as you all as the founders of the Disability Chamber of Commerce for our area, what is your vision for the next, let's give it 5 years? You know, what you mentioned something about seeing some like the speech that had, you know, you've seen nothing's changed, or like really nothing has really changed in those 30 years. What would you like to see happen in the next 5 years that is a realistic a goal for you guys?
Well, our goal really is 10 years, and let me tell you why. Because right now, government, in order for you to have a government contract, you have to employ at least 7% of your employees need to be people with disabilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about we do that to everyone? Every single company, every single business adhere to that. That every company in the Rio Grande Valley, whatever business, it doesn't matter, at least 5 to 7% of your employees have a disability. And that you make it a common practice.
A common practice. My goal would be, for our chamber, for it to be the norm. For you, when you walk into a place of business, there is no longer a distinction between able-bodied people and non-able-bodied people. So I would love for it to just be the norm. You walk in, it's not, oh, how cute, they have someone who has this particular disability serving me at the front. It's not cute. Now it's just the norm. You walk in, all kinds of employees look totally different. That would be the norm for me. Like what I would love the Disability Chamber of Commerce to have accomplished in 5 to 10 years is that you walk in and everyone looks just like everyone else and there's no distinction.
Amazing. That's amazing. Well, again, I want to thank you both for not just joining us today, but for all that you guys are doing for our community, for all that you are advocating for multiple groups. I mean, not just people with disabilities, but our business community and our community as a whole. I think just the mere fact that you're leading with education says a lot, and is something that we can always use more of. So, I mean, me personally, I want to thank you guys, and I know that,
Thank you all.
From a chamber perspective, we are excited to work alongside you guys. We're excited to advocate, and we're just blessed to have you guys and have this part of the RGV. So thank you so much. So I don't know if you want to close out with something, if you'd like to.
I think I said a whole mouthful before, but I just love you guys so much. Thank you for all you do. I mean, I'll never thank you enough. And I can see your vision happening. Like it's not even I just don't understand that you guys are coming. I definitely want to sign up for one of those. I really would love a virtual assistant. Like I had one, and
I love that idea.
I want a virtual assistant so bad. So why wouldn't I get trained to be able to? Let's do it.
Yeah, expand your options. Expand your options. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to thank you guys with the Greater Mission Chamber of Commerce for asking us to be on this really new series. We love it. We love what you guys are doing. It's a brilliant idea. We thank you all for giving us the opportunity to share a little bit about our chamber and our team. And so thank you.
Awesome. We want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. We ask that you join us next Friday at the same time, and be on the lookout for the flyer regarding more information about next week's topic. We all hope you guys have a really great weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.
And don't forget to be a chamber member, everybody.
Yes, if you're interested, please contact us.
Chamber member. Let's help our local businesses. Let's help each other. Yes.
Disability Chamber of Commerce is a member already of the Mission.
That's right. Thank you.
Yes. So join.
We thank you guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
All right, we are no longer on live. And